Hello everybody, I'm going to try to do one final garden video for the year. Probably final because, as you can see, things are looking pretty craptastic and nearing the end of their lives. Also, I'm trying to do this around dogs barking and neighbors coming home, so sorry if there's a lot of background noise. I feel a little awkward doing this when they're watching me. So these are the tomatoes. So there are actually 7 tomato plants in here. It's difficult to tell. There are roughly Amish paste, and then the Rosso Sicilian, and then the really tall ones over here are the Opalka. The tomatoes have done better than I expected them to. I didn't get any ripe tomatoes until the end of August, which is quite late because the heat in June and July just killed all of the flowers. But it's been much cooler here at the end of August and into September, so you can see there are some ripening ones. I've gotten about 20 pounds so far, and the big problem now has been pests. I've had at least 3 hornworms, or whatever they're called, which are nasty. They will eat into tomatoes and then they rot very quickly. So on the other side of this, the carrots used to be here, and yes, those are all weeds. The carrots did amazing. I just pretty much neglected them. I watered them and that was it, and I got 9 pounds of beautiful carrots. They were, one of the batches I got out were a little bit bitter because of the heat, but once they were blanched and cooked, they were perfectly fine, so I'm super happy. I will definitely be trying carrots again next year. Over here are the green beans, which I planted a couple weeks ago. So you can see I have lots of flowers, and I even have a couple of tiny green beans. So I plant green beans in the fall here because they tend to do better than in the summer. The heat doesn't hit them so bad. These have more holes in the leaves. This is done by Japanese bean beetles, I think, which have also been very bad this year. I've never had problems with them really getting the green beans themselves, but because it's been such a bad year for pests, I will be prepared for awfulness. This is where the onions used to be, and these 2 empty boxes, which I need to weed, are where the garlic used to be. I will probably plant spinach in this one. These 3 boxes are my oldest ones, and you can see how low the soil is in them. I need to replenish the soil very badly. My peppers are kind of proof of this. They didn't do so well because of the heat. You can see how small they are. They should be like 2 or 3 times that size, and they are not. And I think just between the heat and poor soil quality at this point, I sort of was asking for it. I've been growing varieties that are not probably very suited to my region. My parents have chosen to grow some varieties that are actually grown in our state, and they've done really, really well even despite the heat. So I'm going to switch to that next year. This empty box is where the zucchini used to be. So remember the squash bed, which is completely empty now. I had lemon squash planted over there, and I had a kaboka squash here. A vine borer got my kaboka and killed my zucchini pretty much overnight. The kaboka survived because I got in there and I split open vines and I was scraping out vine borer grubs or worms or whatever they're called. It was one of the grossest things I've ever had to do. I saved the kaboka, but then the squash bugs moved in. And then the kaboka died, and I had these beautiful kaboka squash that if they'd been a few weeks older, they probably would have survived, but they kind of deflate. So that died. I pulled all that out. The lemon squash did very, very well. It survived the vine borers, it survived the squash bugs, and it pretty much died when it was dying out of old age. And then back over here, I planted a new zucchini, and you notice that that's gone too, because when the lemon squash died, all the squash bugs migrated over here, and I was out here twice a day scraping squash bugs off of the underside of leaves with a bread scraper. Also one of the most disgusting things I've ever had to do, and I was slowly losing that battle, and the plant was dying, so I ripped it out. And now I can't grow squash for 2 years. squash bugs overwinter under debris, like compost, and vine borer moths, their grubs or whatever, overwinter in the soil. So I just have to wait. I also should just give up on squash because they take up a lot of room, and I should just stop. I've never successfully grown kaboka squash. That's pretty much the state of things now. I pulled up the onions and the garlic in the second week of July. They sat in my basement for a couple of months, and I filmed some of me dealing with those and cleaning those up, so hopefully those bits I will insert around the end of this. And so yeah, the last things I have to do are planting some spinach and then planting garlic at the end of October. I usually do it very close to Halloween. I need to get in here and plant a nitrogen crop, like beans, and then leave the bean roots in there and get some leaves and some chicken poop from my parents. And that should help out a lot. But yeah, I'm not sure if anybody's fall garden looks pretty. Mine is being taken over by Bermuda grass, but yeah. And the dog is up there staring at me. So I'm going to call it a wrap, and I will insert whatever I filmed of myself taking care of onions and a lot of dirt. So we are now in my basement where the very dirty onions and garlic are laid out. My task right now is to clean all of this up. So I have my rubber gloves on. All these things have stems on them. I'm cutting off the stems of the onions and the garlic, trimming it down to about maybe an inch above the bulbs. And then I kind of rub them like this until all of the crappy stuff comes off, and you get left with the really pretty thing that actually looks like an onion you would buy in the store. And I'll do the same thing with the garlic, but that takes more effort in peeling back the papery skin and cleaning up the roots. The garlic has a lot more dirt on it than the onions did. So I've let this stuff sit and cure and dry out for a lot longer than I did last year. I've never had difficulty with garlic, but last year I cut the stems off of my onions, like far too close to the bulbs, and when they hadn't dried out completely, so I was cutting into like the green quick of some of the stems, and I was rewarded for that stupid mistake by a lot of rotting onions. So I decided to let them sit for a total of almost 2 months, and I don't think I'm gonna have that problem this year, so onwards. Alright, I am done cleaning up the onions. If you hear somebody screaming in the background, that's a neighbor child. These are absolutely beautiful. I can tell my curing did a lot better this year because the outer skins just fell off, and they're so gorgeous underneath. I had one bad one. It was small, so I chucked it. And I have a couple that I've set aside to cut up right away because they're a little bit soft around the stem, and they don't pass the sniff test. You can tell right away if they are going bad. They have a disgusting smell. So yeah, this went really well. I don't usually keep them in plastic bags. I have white tubs that I use, but my empty one had rotting onions in it during the winter, and I still haven't cleaned it out because that's just disgusting. But I need to clean that out and then move these. I think they get better ventilation when they're laid out like that a bit. So tomorrow evening I will tackle the really messy garlic. Okay, I am dealing with the rest of the garlic. I have cut off all the ends, put them in these bags, and I'm just sitting out on my side stoop cleaning them up. So what I do first is I rub them to get the loose, dirty outer skins off, and then I cut off the roots with my little pruner here. And that's pretty much it. The gross stuff comes off very easily. I thought I had really beautiful garlic this year, and I have ones like this that are just absolutely gorgeous, and it's big and heavy and everything. But then I have some that have like this brownish yellow look to it. I opened one up the other day and it had mold inside, and that was very new. And I also have a bad one. I've never gotten a bad one, but you should not be able to squish fresh garlic like that, so I don't know what's up with that. I'm going to clean all of these up, and then I'll probably keep 6 to 8 of the best from each variety. This is my family's variety, and the purpley one is German porcelain. So I'll save 6 to 8 bulbs, so I have some for planting. I plant about 50 cloves of each, I think, and then I will probably take another 20 or so, and I will just break them up and I will roast the garlic and freeze that, because I noticed that I have quite a few left over at the end of the season that get dried up and stuff. I can't use it up fast enough, and I hate having the waste. And also, if mold is going to be a problem, I like to get ahead of that. So that's pretty much it for the garlic, and Ava is getting riled up by something. You hear that? Yeah, that's my neighbor's dog. So that's it for now. Thank you guys for watching.